Welcome to episode 11, which is actually a Q&A that happened inside of the More Than Capable Mompreneur podcast community on Facebook. I asked the ladies what their biggest challenge is when it comes to creating their systems other than technology. And whether you are just starting your business or you've been in business for some time, I'm sure some of these questions are ones that are relevant to you, because no matter what stage we are in our business, we always have to put systems in place and keep them up to date. So in this Q&A, I talk about automation, staying focused, where to start implementing systems, and how to break it down so you don't get overwhelmed with the process. So grab a pen and some paper and take plenty of notes. And if you'd like to be a part of this community, please feel free to join us. We're all busy women who are taking care of our families. Some work outside of their homes and are building side gigs like me, and some work their business full time. But most of us love us some coffee, and we support each other because being a mompreneur is hard. We also collaborate with each other, celebrate our wins together, swap ideas for recipes, self-care, and so many other things. It's a great community and it's free, so please join us. There's a link to join in the show notes, or you can go to bit.ly/busy mompreneur support group. Welcome back to the More Than Capable Mompreneur podcast. I'm Shannon Baker, a coffee-loving mompreneur that started as a virtual assistant and turned into a total systems geek. And I want to help you shift your mindset and embrace your worthiness while creating systems in your business so you can be more productive and build success on your own terms without the mom guilt. Are you loving that? Well, I hope you're ready for real conversations that will help you beat the perfectionist inside, rediscover your strengths, and up-level your self-love in the mom cracks of time so you can stop letting fear hold you back, because you are enough and you do enough. We are more than capable mompreneurs. So grab your cup of coffee, some sparkling water, or pour a glass of your favorite wine and let's dive in. So the first question was about scheduling, a scheduling app. So personally, I use Acuity. I've been using it for a while and I absolutely love it because it offers so many options. There is a free version that you can use, or I have the paid account, which gives me more options, including, more syncing ability and some other back-end things that are not available with the free version. And it only costs me $10 a month, and maybe a little bit more now. I believe it might be $15 a month for the basic business account. But that's still, not a huge chunk of money for all the things that it does for you. And this is why I love Acuity. One, as I said, it integrates with my Google Calendar, which is where I put all of my appointments. I live off of my Google Calendar. So there's a two-way sync between Acuity and my calendar. If an appointment is scheduled inside of Acuity, it blocks the time on my calendar. If I've already time blocked my schedule in Google Calendar the way that I'm supposed to, Acuity knows that if one of my time blocks overlaps when I'm available for appointments, it doesn't allow anyone to book during those times. So it's a great two-way sync, and it eliminates me overbooking myself as long as I do the things that I'm supposed to do. And why is that great? One, because I work part-time. Even with all that's going on now, I still work part-time just from home. More than I did before, but I only went into the office 2 days a week anyway. Now it's just one day. So in the days where I am not home, I have to block out that time because I can't take calls. Not to mention, calls can just be one of the biggest distractions ever. So I have designated days and time blocks where I accept certain calls, and they're based on the length of those calls. So one, I always suggest everyone, whether you do, free discovery calls for 15 or 30 minutes, make sure your schedule is blocked so that you have them all on the same day. That way it's not disrupting your workflow on, every day of the week. When it comes to, for those of you who may have podcasts, batch or time block, again, the day that you want to do your podcast interviews and days that you want to be a guest on someone else's podcast. The biggest thing is to get as much, be as productive as you possibly can be during those time blocks so that you're not stopping, because it's going to take you time to get back in the groove if you have to stop. I know you know what I'm talking about, right? So I also have paid appointments through Acuity. It integrates with Stripe, PayPal, like all the major collection companies for collecting payments. And it doesn't charge you an additional fee, which I know there's some other scheduling apps that charge you an additional fee into what you already have to pay, like PayPal or whatever processing system that you use. Automation, I can't even begin to explain. I love the automation as far as when someone books an appointment, emails go out automatically. They automatically get reminder emails for my paid services. One, like my discovery calls, there is an intake form that automatically collects their information for me ahead of time so I can see, where that potential lead is in their business, what they may want help with. I get to check them out online, get to know a little bit about them before the call, which helps that 15-minute call be more productive because, again, it's 15 minutes for me to see if we're even a great fit for each other. But I can kind of get a feel for that before I even get on the phone with them. What's great, too, is you can have people upload documents. So if you do have a podcast or you take photos, whatever the case may be, you need paperwork signed for like releases. You can send those to them automatically in the confirmation emails with Acuity and have them upload documents into your Acuity, which houses all of it so you can download the information later. So those are just some of the basic things that I love about Acuity. And Stacey, I know that was your question. So if you have any more, please feel free to let me know so I can address those for you. Now, talking about automation, Zapier. I absolutely love Zapier because it integrates with just about everything in the world. It's connected to my Acuity. So when appointments are booked, it automatically adds the person to a spreadsheet in my Google Drive. It also automatically adds the person to my Trello board so that I can track them in the customer journey and I don't lose the lead. For some booked appointments, there's some other follow-up paperwork that I need for them to complete ahead of time and some homework that they have to do. For instance, when someone books a full back office assessment, there's some homework that has to be done ahead of time. But once they book and pay in Acuity, Zapier connects to my Gmail account and automatically sends them the next steps that they need to do. You can use Zapier to connect to, God, I don't even think there's much that Zapier doesn't connect to. It's basically like if this, then that. So it's a link between two apps that automates the task for you without you having to do anything once you set the Zap up. So that is the biggest key for automation, of course. But you have to have a documented process so that you know which tasks you can automate or which steps you can link together with automation through Zapier. Now, one of the other questions was, how do you stay focused? Because I know implementing systems, documenting processes is not fun work, but as you know, or if you don't know, I call them sexy business systems. Here's why. Because once you get those systems in place, you have time to get your sexy on, whether that's with, your girlfriends, hanging out with your family, hanging out with your hubby on date night. Those systems help free up your time so you can do those things. So as far as staying focused, you have to commit to the process of getting your systems in place. The bottom line is you have to block out, increments. Again, time blocking. Time blocking is the key to being productive. Now, if you haven't listened to episode 4 of the podcast, I break down my time blocking process and you can customize it for what works for you. And that's what's great. But the bottom line is if you don't have a plan, we know you plan to fail. Failure to plan is plan to fail. Is how I think that goes. So anyway, you have to commit the time, even if it's in 15 or 30-minute increments. Small steps are better than no steps. So hopefully that answers that question. That's how you stay focused. And the key also is picking the time when you know you're most productive, because you can get those things out of your head quicker. Like for me, it's in the morning. So I do all those types of things in the morning. If you're a night owl, go for it. Just set out maybe 15 to 20 minutes at the end of the day and start working on a process. You'll be surprised at how fast you can go through just one process if you consistently work on it in small increments. And the third question was, where do you find the time to document the processes and create the system? So again, time blocking is key. You have to make the time. That's it. It's not going to come automatically. It's not going to happen on its own. You got to commit to it and just do it. Because right now, if you don't have any systems in place, basically your back office is held together by duct tape, then you're reinventing the wheel every time you have to do something, which means you're wasting time. And time is money because you can be spending that time working on something else. So you've got to block out the time and commit to getting it done. So that leads to how to do it. So one, I always recommend starting with checklists, which I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But there are two options that you can also use for things that you know you do on a repetitive basis, right? You can record audio of yourself as you complete the task, or you can use something like Loom. But anyway, I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about. And if not, I'm going to drop a link to that and everything else that I refer to once this broadcast is over. But what I do with that, I use it to record presentations. You can share your screen and go through presentations with or without your face. So it's great if you're entering receipts or things inside of QuickBooks. You can just turn that on and it will record your voice and what you're doing on your screen. Then when you're done, you can send that out or send the audio out so that it can be transcribed by someone else. Easy peasy. And all you had to do was just record yourself while you're going through the motions. Not to mention, I am actually strongly considering offering that service. So if that's something that you would be interested in doing to help you get the documentation process going, let me know. Either drop a comment below or just send me a private message and let me know if that's something that actually will be worth your while to help you get this in place. You just record your process, send it off, and it comes back to you all typed out so you can take the next step and start identifying what you can automate. So now let's talk about where do you start. Well, episode 3 of my podcast I did actually was an interview on Allison Scholl's Social Media for Mompreneurs podcast. And I talked about the 6 sexy systems that every mompreneur needs in their business. Oh my God, I'm losing my voice. But no, I'm going to give you all 6. But in that episode, I break down the 3 that every business owner needs, no matter where you are in your journey. Whether you're just starting or you're starting to grow, you have to have systems in place. So here they are. You have to have a filing system for all of your documents to be stored in one central location. Just about everyone uses Google Drive or Dropbox. The great thing is you can still access your files when you're on the run. So you don't have to wait until you get back to the office to send something out. You can just pull it up on your iPad, your laptop, your phone, and send whatever documents you need if they're in a central location. Number 2 is a communication system, and that's internal and external communication. Part of the internal is talking to your team members. If you already outsource, those are your team members. You need to have processes in place so that you know how to communicate with them. And when it comes to external, that includes your customer care process, which starts from the first time that someone contacts you, not when they book. Because if you're not taking care of them before, they're not even going to get to the point where they know, like, and trust you to even spend money. So you need to have an onboarding process that begins, again, from the first time that they make contact with you, either through your website, whether it's a direct message on Instagram, even if they start leaving comments on your post, that's interaction with you. You have to follow up on that. So now, the third system is a money management system. You have to watch your money coming in, and you definitely have to watch your money going out. So whether that's in spreadsheets, QuickBooks Online, whatever you prefer, you need to watch your money. The third is a scheduling system, which we've talked about a little bit, but this is always my recommendation. Have a central calendar. While I use a paper planner to write things out or plan things out, I then transfer that information over to my Google Calendar, which then allows Acuity to know what's going on in my life so I don't overbook. Let's see what else. The for, what was that? That was for number 5. Yes, a backup system. This is one that most people don't think about. You have to have a backup system for your website so that if your website goes down, corrupt, whatever the case may be, you need to have backups of that information, right? Also for people, if you outsource, what happens if you have a virtual assistant and they get sick? Or what happens when they go on an extended vacation? You have to have backups in place so that you can either reach out to another person or you have a backup plan so that your business will continue to operate until that person returns. And then the last system is sales and marketing, which would be your full marketing plan. Any promotions you've got going on, public speaking, your podcast schedule, your content calendar, all those things related to you letting people know about your business. And sales and marketing, they're 2 different functions. So one brings awareness, the other one leads to money. You have to have all of those things in place so that those 2 work in tandem so that you can grow your revenue. So now all of this falls into the scope of my signature process, which I renamed as the Solo, S-O-L-O, Power Method. It's a 5-step process that helps you identify which systems you need to implement first based on one goal you're going to focus on for 90 days. And you may be saying, okay, well, that sounds great, but I'm not sure. Can I do this on my own? You absolutely can assess your systems on your own or your lack of systems on your own, because I created a DIY assessment last year to help you do just that. And the great part is you can complete the assessment in 15 minutes or less, but it also comes with a 15-minute call with me so we can go over your results. And then when you get off the call, you'll have an action plan that you can implement to help you start getting things in motion. And it's only $27. That's the DIY version. I also have a full 30-minute version of that process for $67 where we meet for 30 minutes, long enough for us to have a cup of coffee together, which just sounds like I need to have another cup anyway. And we go through that same mini process to see what you already have in place and what you need to put in place based on one goal that you're focusing on for the next 90 days. It's a quick action plan. So it's not a bunch of steps that are going to overwhelm you, but usually I like to focus on 1 to 2 systems, depends on what you do and don't have already. Now, the last question was, how do you break all of this down? Well, the simplest thing you can do, again, is create a checklist. Checklists are easy. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, right? So I always recommend you start with the 5 major steps that it takes for you to get from start to finish in your process. Then you go back, you fill in the additional steps that are needed, but remember to keep it simple. Then you identify all the elements that you need in your process. Email templates, the technology that you need, your forms, any images that are associated with the step, all of that stuff. Then you save that checklist in your central files, and then you start to test it. And as you use that process, you can then streamline it and identify ways that you can make it more efficient. Now remember this, the goal is to create a business that supports your lifestyle. So that means that if you want to start outsourcing as your business grows, you're going to need these processes anyway. Otherwise, you're going to have a terrible time outsourcing, because a process that you can hand off to a person to complete a task is a great place to start. Otherwise, they're trying to guess how you want things done, and more than likely, you are not going to be satisfied with the results that you get. I've been through that process and tried, and believe me, it's not fun. You just waste time and money, and in the end, you end up frustrated, and then you go back to doing it yourself, which we know we already have a lot on our plates, so we need to hand off what we can when we get to the point that we can afford to do that. So right now is a great time to do this. So do yourself a favor, stop winging it, get some systems in place. Right now is a really good time because we have some extra time being stuck at home. No, we don't like it, but it does give us a time to invest in ourselves and invest in our businesses, invest in our systems, so that this isn't going to be the norm forever. So when things return to normal or start returning to normal and we get out more, one thing for sure, if your business starts to grow and you don't have those systems in place, you're going to be miserable, you're going to end up burned out, you're going to be overwhelmed, and you're going to want to give up. So get those systems in place. And I want to help you do this because I want you to succeed. We can do this together. That's why I started the podcast. That's why I have this group. That's why I have my business. Hey, I understand all the things. I work a part-time job. Well, I was volunteering outside of my home almost 20 hours a week. Not happening right now because of this whole coronavirus thing. But eventually it's going to come back. Without systems, my business would not continue to run, especially since I launched a podcast, because there are a lot of moving pieces that are related to my podcast every week. And I'm going to move to having guest episodes. Without a system, it would drive me bonkers. So always remember, pace yourself, time block, focus. Set your goal for the next 90 days. Determine what systems you need in place to help you reach that goal without you being overwhelmed. And you can do this based on your schedule. So you can do 15 to 20 minute increments to start working on things, whatever the case may be, but just get it done.
I hope you enjoyed that live Q&A that happened inside of the More Than Capable Mompreneur podcast Facebook community. I love the ladies in that community so much because they are so supportive of me and of each other. So if you want support, not just from me, but from the phenomenal women in that group, then please join us. I want to help you shift your mindset and embrace your worthiness while creating systems in your business so you can be more productive and build success on your own terms without the mom guilt. Hey, I know the struggle is real, but there is strength in numbers. So always remember, you are enough and you do enough because you are a more than capable mompreneur.